Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into a really fascinating paradox, the heart of Noah and the gift of grace. You know, when we hear the name Noah, our minds usually jump straight to, well, the massive boat, right? Animals marching two by two, the crazy world-ending flood, the whole shebang. But underneath that famous narrative is this incredibly profound paradox about human weakness, divine favor, and what it actually means to be chosen. So today, we're going to deconstruct the exact nature of grace, specifically as it applies to one of history's most well-known figures. So here's the big question. Why did God give Noah grace? It sounds like a simple question, but man, the answer is so incredibly nuanced. I think most of us kind of assume that divine grace is a reward for absolute perfection, you know? Like it's a prize handed out to the one guy who never made a single mistake. But as we parse through our source material today, you're going to see that assumption completely misses the mark. Actually, to really understand the criteria for this gift of grace, we need to rewind. We need to go all the way back to the beginning. Section 1. Humanity's original purpose. Okay, so before we can even begin to understand Noah, we have to establish what humanity was actually created to be in the first place. According to the text, mankind was designed with a very specific fourfold purpose. Step 1, to know him. That means forming a deep relationship and awareness. Step 2, to love him, moving beyond just knowing right into genuine heartfelt devotion. Step 3, to trust him, having absolute unwavering confidence in that relationship. And finally, step 4, to reflect his character, basically acting as a mirror to the divine. Put all these together, and they aren't just a list of rules. They're the complete blueprint, the absolute ideal purpose for mankind. Section 2, a world in contrast. Now, as our source material points out, reality on Earth deviated wildly from that beautiful original blueprint. On one side, we have the rest of the world, and the text tells us plainly, humanity at large completely abandoned God's purpose. Those 4 pillars we just talked about, knowing, loving, trusting, reflecting, totally discarded, tossed out the window. But then, on the other side, we have this singular anomaly. The text states that Noah did not abandon the purpose. So in a landscape that had completely turned its back on the design, Noah stood alone, holding the line. And that leads us straight to this incredibly powerful quote from the text. Quote, "From God's perspective, Noah represented what humanity was originally created to be," end quote. I want you to let that sink in for just a second. Noah wasn't just chosen arbitrarily out of a hat. When God looked at Noah, he literally saw a living, breathing reflection of those 4 original pillars. Noah was, essentially, a surviving prototype of mankind's original design. Section 3. The purpose of grace. So we've established who Noah was, but why exactly was he given grace? Well, God extended grace as a highly deliberate mechanism. The goal? To preserve a godly seed and to continue his redemptive plan. You see, grace wasn't just a pat on the back for good behavior. No, it was a vital, strategic bridge. The rest of the world had completely abandoned its purpose, right? But to keep the ultimate plan of redemption alive, there absolutely had to be a continuation of that original design. Section 4. Perfection versus direction. Okay, this is where things get really interesting. This is where we address the myth versus the reality of Noah's character. Ready for it? Noah was not sinless. Honestly, this is a massive disruption to the way these stories are popularly understood. It is so easy to assume that, hey, to be the one guy chosen to preserve humanity, Noah must have been flawless, right? But the source material is explicitly clear here. It notes that Noah himself later showed weakness. He made mistakes. He experienced very real human frailty. And dismantling this assumption of absolute perfection, that is absolutely crucial to understanding the true nature of his grace. The text builds our understanding here through a really sharp comparison. Noah, as we just learned, showed human weakness, but the source material draws a firm, uncrossable boundary, stating that only Jesus Christ is completely sinless. Absolute, flawless perfection is a trait reserved exclusively for him. Placing them side by side like this makes it literally impossible to confuse human faithfulness with divine perfection. Noah was incredibly faithful, yes, for sure, but he was still fundamentally human. And that brings us to a total paradigm shift. It turns out grace is found not through perfection, but through a heart turned toward God. Think about what that actually means. Human weakness does not disqualify us from grace. God wasn't demanding 0 mistakes. Instead, he was looking at the trajectory of the individual. While the rest of the world turned away, Noah's heart was pointed in the exact right direction. It's trajectory, not absolute perfection, that attracts grace. Which leaves all of us with this final challenge. Is your heart turned toward God? We've unpacked the history, and we've totally dismantled the myth of the flawless hero. The story of Noah isn't asking if you're perfect, because, well, we know from the text that you aren't. The real question is all about your direction. When you strip away the heavy expectations of perfection, where is your focus actually pointing? I want you to really ponder that as we wrap up today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.